There, I'm Don Alejandro, and this is my good friend
John Harney.
This is Two Grumpy Men on the Muslim immigration ban. Now, one of the things that's come up is Donald Trump has tried to implement a ban where for 90 days there's going to be no or very, very limited immigration from sets of countries that are troubled until we can implement a better, more efficient vetting process. And the left has, I think, basically stopped the idea through the courts. Now, John, you said before the show that you actually had some issue with judges basically making law from the bench. You want to expand on that?
Well, let's talk a little bit about this executive order. So the idea behind the executive order is that the Department of Homeland Security has to come up with a better vetting process that allows them to do a background check on people who are coming in from countries that are known to have terrorists. It names 6 countries from Syria, Iraq, Somalia, all these other countries, just to name a few, that are known to produce terrorists. Now, lawsuits were filed in federal courts to oppose this executive order. I think it's wrong. I think that the Department of Homeland Security needs to have time to develop a process, and I think that that's what Donald Trump was doing. He was saying, okay, look, you're going to stop right here. We're not going to let all these guys in until we actually know who is coming in through our borders, and we're going to give you the time to develop a process that allows you to do a great background check. Yeah. So I think they need to read what he's actually written in this executive order, and I was reading. There was a columnist, I forget who it was. He wrote something about during World War II, tons of refugees were coming in, Jewish refugees that the United States actually turned back, and this is true. This was a horrible thing.
Yes.
Okay. There's something that we did that we need to own up to, that we turned back refugees that were fleeing a Holocaust. But I don't remember in the history of the United States a Jewish member or a Jewish person committing an act of terrorism against the United States. I can't pinpoint that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing is I see the left really trying to define their way out of a problem, and this bugs me. I will be generous. I'm going to grant that Islam is in the midst of a schism. I'm going to grant that there are members of the Islamic faith that denounce terrorism, and there are members of the Islamic faith who say terrorism is authentic Islam. And that is something they need to sort that out. And until that is sorted out, we need to take prudent steps to protect our own citizens, protect our own future. And pretending it's not a problem does not help the moderate factions. This is something where the moderates need to say, look, you're making life hard for those of us who just want to go to work, do our job, come home and raise our family. We're living in this world where the left does not want to acknowledge consequences. There are consequences for our troops pulling out of Iraq. There are consequences for people doing things in the name of faith that are detrimental to human well-being, and as painful as it is, a lot of times us uncritically helping them is like giving money to an alcoholic. It's like giving money to a drug addict. It's not actually helping. It's making the problem worse.
I like to believe in the rule of law, and I like to believe in due process, and I like to believe in the things that make our government and our society what it is, a supposed system that allows for justice and truth to be prevalent, right? But at the same time, we have to take a look at what is happening outside of our own borders, outside of our own country, that doesn't correlate with our views of justice and of law.
Exactly.
And how do we work with that? How do we actually determine our ability to integrate people who have a completely different notion of what justice and rule of law are?
Well, that's a great idea, and that's something we're going to have to cover in a future video. Until then, this is Two Grumpy Men on the Muslim immigration debacle.